Hello and good evening, guys. How are you all doing? A very good evening to all of you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening, sir.
Good evening, good
Good
evening,
evening, sir.
good evening to all of you, and welcome to yet another session. And yes, in this particular session, we are going to discuss law and ethics, and yes, one of the most important topics of your syllabus, which is business ethics, ethics and business. That is what we are going to discuss today. So yes, the preparations, I hope all of y'all's preparations are going at its best, guys. These last few days are the most critical days of your preparation. Trust me, if a student has not studied ever in past 1 year or 6 months, but he studies well in this particular 6 months in this particular last month tenure, and he has not studied in last 6 months, but he studies for this 1 month, there is a probability that he will pass. But a student who has hard worked rigorously for last 6 months but does not study in this 1 month, he will definitely fail. So this month, this entire month, this last moment studies is the most important part of your preparation. So do not let even 1 hour go waste in your tenure of these days. You should study for at least 8 to 10 hours daily in these days. 5th September is your examination. Today we are sitting on 11th. Even less than 30 days left. So please do not waste even a single day, even a single hour, even a single minute. The next few days are most critical in your examination. Just utilize them well and just give it your best shot, because this will decide whether you will come in CMA Inter in the coming month or not. This 1 month will decide your fate. So give it your heart and soul, give it your 100%, and do not let any stone unturned because of any mistake or any silly thing that you have. Sometimes we tend to fall prey to some silly things like Big Boss is starting. So some students will tell me, sir, I love to watch Big Boss, so I will watch Big Boss. I will not study during that time. Guys, it is not fair. Watching Big Boss will come repeatedly, will be there on Woot after the Big Boss season is over, so you can see Big Boss then. But right now, the main aim, the basic focus is definitely studies. And one very important request to all of you, for these next few days, guys, please uninstall WhatsApp, uninstall social media apps, Instagram, Facebook, uninstall everything which you have, which is distracting you in this last 20 days. Trust me, if you do this small thing, okay, you might say, sir, it is not small for us. Staying away from Instagram, not looking at her for so many days is not something which is very easy. It is very difficult, sir. It is not that easy. But yes, if you do this difficult task, then vouch for it. I can vouch for it that you will definitely succeed in your examination. Just for 20 days, uninstall all the apps, all the social media apps which you have on your phone, and just see the magic. It is a magical experience which I have experienced. I have made many of my students also experience the same magic. It'll be magic. So just experience that magic. Just remove social media app, and definitely you will see the magic happening. Okay, so before we come on to our chapter on ethics, guys, in the last session we had a small section of our SOGA chapter pending of Sales of Goods Act. We did not complete the last portion, so I would like to first complete the last portion of Sales of Goods Act, and then we will proceed to ethics and business, and then finally we will proceed to the test which I am going to take of ethics and business. So let us first start the remaining portion of ethics and business, which is the difference between condition and warranty. Okay, so an important part of your syllabus, because examiner asks this question frequently in the examination. Examination has got examiner's favorite question has been this: what is condition and what is warranty? So understanding the distinguishing factor between two, and understanding how can this question come in the objective type questions is very important. So let me first explain you what is the difference between a condition and a warranty. Guys, condition means a term, a condition, a stipulation, a primary condition without which a product cannot be sold. I'll give you an example. if suppose I am a seller of a mobile phone, then the primary condition of a mobile phone is that I should be able to hear voice of the other people and I should be able to make calls from that mobile phone. If I am not able to receive the voice of other person from that mobile phone, then that mobile phone is waste for me. It is of no use to me if I am not able to receive voice of the other person. So speaker in a mobile phone is a primary thing without which the mobile phone is of no use to any person. Speaker, having a good speaker, having a good microphone is essential in a mobile phone. But if I talk about radio, guys, radio is not essential for a mobile phone. You can do away with radio. Radio is not required, not a mandatory thing in a mobile phone. In fact, iPhones do not have radios at all. And even the Android phones these days are devoid of radio. Radio is not there in iPhones and Android phones. So, condition means a stipulation, a term which is essential to the main object of that particular product. However, warranty means a condition or a stipulation or a term which is not the main part, not the main purpose of that particular product. It is a secondary purpose of that particular product. So, condition is the main term and warranty is a secondary term of a particular stipulation. Now, if you look at the difference between these two, the aggrieved party can repudiate the contract of sale in case there is a breach of condition. So, in case there is a breach of condition, in case one essential element of a product is missing, the party, aggrieved party, which is the buyer, can refuse to take the good. He can say that, okay, I don't want this good, please take it back, I don't want it, because the main condition is missing, the main term is missing. So, if I do not have a microphone, a earphone in my mobile phone, it is waste for me, it is of no use to me. However, in case of a warranty, aggrieved party can claim damages only in case of breach of warranty. Since warranty is a secondary thing, it's a subsidiary thing. So, you can only claim breach of warranty, you can only claim damages. So, if you get back to the phone seller and tell him, oh, I was under an impression that this mobile phone would have a radio. Radio is something which I wanted and I thought that radio would be there in this mobile phone. Please, I want my money back. Please give my money back since this phone does not have a mobile phone. Guys, not a valid proposition. You will not succeed. Court will tell you that no, radio is not an essential feature of a particular mobile phone. If radio is not there in a mobile phone, you should have first of all checked it beforehand. If you do not have radio in a mobile phone, your purchase cannot be held as void ab initio. Your purchase cannot be held as zero. Your purchase cannot be held as invalid. Your purchase is very much valid. You can just claim damages. Damages means if there is any loss which has occurred to you because of this warranty not being fulfilled, then you can claim that from the seller. But seller will not be responsible to pay back your money. However, in case of a condition breach, which means if your speaker of the mobile phone is not working properly, then guys, seller has to repay back your money to you. Your money will be repaid back. The contract will be ended. The contract will be void in that situation. So, since the importance of condition is too much, therefore, the condition is an essential element of a contract, and if condition is not met, then that contract is invalid. However, in case of warranty, if warranty is not met, it is not the primary condition, it is the secondary condition. If warranty is not met, then guys, there is no breach of contract is not breached, then you are just eligible for damages. That's it. Then what is the next difference? The next difference is, in case of breach of condition may be treated as breach of warranty. This would happen when the aggrieved party is contended with damages only. Okay, so if after having a breach of condition, buyer says, okay, no problem, I don't want the contract to be ended as a whole, I don't want my money back, okay, no problem, just pay my damages. So you might tell the seller that, okay, listen seller, I don't want my money back, you just amend the earphone which is not working in the mobile phone, you just amend that and I'm okay with it. So at the option of the buyer, a breach of condition can be treated as breach of warranty, which means in case of breach of condition as well, It is possible that buyer gives a concession and he says, okay, no problem, I don't want my money back, you just rectify the problem which is there and I am okay with it. But in case of breach of warranty, a breach of warranty cannot be treated as a breach of condition. So in case of a breach of warranty, the buyer cannot say that, okay, now pay my money back. No. In case of breach of warranty, buyer cannot say that pay my money back. Buyer has to only be satisfied with the damages. So breach of warranty will result in damages. Breach of condition will result in repudiation of the contract, which means contract comes to an end. This is the difference between condition and warranty. Now your question to me will be, sir, please tell us one thing. Now as a buyer, is it that I have to, as a buyer, tell the seller that, dear seller, please note that I have certain conditions in my mind which you have to necessarily fulfill. Which means that if I'm buying a mobile phone, sir, then do we have to tell the seller every time that, okay, the mobile phone speaker should be okay? That is one condition on which I'm buying the product. Condition number 2, earphone, the mic piece should be okay. That is condition number 2. Condition number 3, the touch screen should be fluent. Do we have to tell all these conditions every time we buy something? Because in that manner, it will be a very hefty task to remember all the conditions and tell the seller that we want this. What if condition is not told by us beforehand? No guys, that is not true. Some conditions are implied. You need not say it, you need not write it. You need not sign an agreement for it. Some conditions are implied, which means that some conditions are unsaid. Even if agreement does not contain those conditions are implied, assumed. I'll give you simple example, same example. If you are buying a mobile phone, necessarily its mic should be working, its speaker should be working, its touchpad should be working, all the things should be working. If you are buying a battery for your mobile phone, of course, it should be new, it should be working, all its essential elements should be working. So you need not tell the seller every time that, look, Mr. Seller, I'm buying a mobile phone, so please ensure that the mic is okay, the speaker is okay, everything is okay. No, you need not tell it. It is implied that that condition should be there in the mobile phone. So now we come on to express conditions or warranties and implied conditions or warranties. So some conditions are to be told specifically. For example, I'll give you an example. So guys, if you want a cover for your mobile from the same store, then you have to tell the seller, dear seller, I want a cover for this mobile also. I don't only want the mobile, I want the cover also. You have to tell it. The seller is not going to assume that you want a cover for your mobile phone. So you have to tell the seller certain things are expressed, they should be expressed conditions, and some things are implied, you need not tell them, they have to be absolutely perfect. So next thing that we are going to study is, what are the implied conditions? Implied conditions means the conditions which we need not tell. We need not mention about those conditions should be implied. The seller should take care of those conditions. We need not tell those conditions. Condition number 1, condition as to title. Condition as to title, which means the seller has to pass on a good title to you. Seller cannot pass on a defective title to you. I'll give you an example. I went to a store. I said I want iPhone 12. Seller gave me an iPhone 12 and I bought it. Now seller had that iPhone purchased or stolen from someone else. That was a stolen iPhone. The person who came to know that that iPhone was with me, he was the owner of that iPhone. He came to me and he wanted the iPhone back. I went to the seller. I said, seller, you didn't pass on the correct phone to me. Why did you pass on someone else's phone to me? Why did you steal the phone from him? So you know what seller was saying? Seller was saying, but sir, you didn't mention that the mobile phone should be mine. You didn't mention it. If it was a condition, you should have mentioned it, that the mobile phone should be mine. I thought you want any mobile phone, so even stolen mobile phone will be okay. I thought this, you didn't mention the condition. Incorrect stipulation by the seller. Seller should note that the condition as to title is implied. Implied means even if I don't tell you, then it is an obvious thing. It is obvious. It is but obvious that the phone should belong to the seller. It is obvious. So first implied condition is implied condition as to title. The title should belong to the seller, and only then seller is capable of selling it to the buyer. Buyer will not ensure, or buyer will not check that the title belongs to the seller or not. Buyer is not responsible to check it. Okay, sir. Second condition as to description and sample. Now this is a very important condition, guys. If I go to a mobile phone store and I don't check out the mobile, I'm in a hurry, I just tell him, please give us a mobile phone which has 8 GB RAM, which has this quad processor, which has Gorilla Glass, which has this much of GB of memory, which has this much of camera pixel quality. I give him all the specifications and I come back to my home. The seller transfers the good at my home. In this situation, guys, the phone should meet with the description or the sample which I have shown to the seller. It should meet with the description, and if I have given any sample, it should meet with the sample as well. So condition as to description. If the goods are sold by description, if the buyer is telling you that I want this specification of good, then that description should be met by the seller. This is an implied condition. So implied condition number 2, the condition as to description and sample. Whatever description is given to you, whatever sample has been shown to you, the seller should sell the goods only according to that sample or description. Okay. Implied condition number 3, condition as to fitness or quality. So if I have told the seller that I want this good for a specific purpose, I did not mention the description, I did not mention the sample, but I told him that I want this phone for the purpose of recording videos. I want to record videos and I want the phone to be suitable for recording videos. Now if I have told the purpose of the phone, then the seller should be responsible that the purpose should be fulfilled. So I'll tell you an example. If you want to record videos in iPhone, guys, iPhone, the videos in iPhone are not recorded beyond 10 minutes because iPhone gets heated up very quickly. Since iPhone gets heated up very quickly, the videos are not properly recorded in iPhone. So now I have told the seller that I want to record videos, and now if a seller is selling me an iPhone, then it is seller's mistake that he is doing. I have told him that I want a phone which can record videos for long hours, but iPhone is not suitable for recording videos for long hours. Then the seller is in mistake. Seller has not sold me goods which is fit according to my purpose. Again, a breach of condition. So the condition as to fitness or quality should be met by the seller. Then condition as to merchantability. What is merchantability? Merchantability means the goods which are purchased should be good enough to be sold in open market. So tomorrow if I am wanting to sell my iPhone in open market, the good should be good enough, well enough to be sold. The good should be of merchantable quality, which means I should be able to sell this good. It should be fit to sale. So, tomorrow no one should come to me and say, no, this particular good is not saleable. So, salability of that good is an implied condition. The good should be saleable in market. I'll give you an example. Suppose I want to buy an antique which is very, very expensive and which is there at a particular shop. Now, the shop owner tells me, sir, you please take this antique, take it to your home. But sir, this antique is smuggled into India. This antique is smuggled into India. Therefore, you will not be able to sell this antique. If you sell this antique further, then you will be caught by police. Police will take you to jail. So please, sir, don't try to sell this antique ever in future. Now, this is wrong. This is wrong. Every good should meet the condition as to merchantability, which means the good should be fit for selling it further whenever I want to sell it in future. The good should be absolutely fit to be sold in future. And yes, Pratik Chintu has given the right answer. It should be fit to be sold. Then last implied condition is the condition as to wholesomeness. Wholesomeness means the goods which are eatables. Eatables means any good. You want to eat burger, you want to eat pizza, you want to eat French fries, you want to eat tacos, you want to eat any good stuff. Then guys, that good stuff should be free from any poisonous substance or any defect. Because when you eat stuff outside, so when you go to McDonald's, you are trusting that the McDonald's mayonnaise which is spread in McDonald's burger, or the lettuce which is there in a McDonald's burger, that is not spurious, that is not poisonous. You are assuming that, right? So this assumption is very, very true. This is an implied condition. The seller should make sure that his food content is not damaged, his food content is not poisonous. This is something which is to be ensured by the seller of a food product. So the condition as to wholesomeness is applicable on foods. Then there are certain implied warranties also. The implied warranties are: warranty number 1, the implied warranty as to quiet possession. Quiet possession means the buyer should be able to enjoy the possession of that particular product in quietness. There should not be any disturbance which is available to the buyer once that product is sold to the buyer. This is implied warranty. I'll give you an example. Okay, now I bought a house, and in that house, after I bought it, I realized that there are other people who are actually coming to me daily, and they are saying that oh no, please please vacate this house. This house is not your house, this house is our house. So people are coming and irritating me. They are disturbing my possession, they are disturbing my right to use that particular property, and this is an implied warranty, guys. So seller should make sure that whatever he sells to another person, the another person should enjoy its quiet possession. Quiet possession means the buyer should be able to enjoy and should be able to take the pleasure of that particular property. Okay, so if a person is not able to take pleasure of that particular property, then it is a breach of implied warranty. I'll give you another example. All these telecom companies, they are selling the telecom SIM cards to all of you. You buy Vodafone SIM card, Vodafone Idea SIM card, Airtel SIM card. Those SIM cards are not always new numbers. Those numbers are sometimes old numbers of people who have discontinued their cards, their numbers, and that numbers are available to you. They are sold to you as a second party, I mean as a second user. Okay, so sometimes what happens is you get calls from random people telling you that okay, अरे रमेश का नंबर है क्या, रमेश से बात हो सकती है क्या, and you wonder who is Ramesh. You get another call, रमेश से बात हो सकती है क्या, and you say no, रमेश यहाँ कोई नहीं रहता, रमेश सुरेश दोनों ही नहीं रहते हैं यहाँ पर. So you sometimes get disturbed by your SIM cards if the SIM cards are old SIM cards of some other person who has discontinued those SIM cards. Now this is a problem. You can definitely sue Vodafone Idea for this problem. If someone is disturbing your quiet possession of your SIM card, then you can definitely sue the seller for damages. Damages will be paid to you by seller. So this is the first implied warranty. You need not mention this warranty in the agreement. This warranty is implied warranty. Okay, even if you don't mention it in the agreement, the seller has to make sure that you enjoy quiet possession. Secondly, warranty of freedom from encumbrances. Now what is encumbrances? Encumbrance means mortgage. What is mortgage, sir? Okay, I'll tell you what is mortgage. Sometimes what happens is you buy a property from a particular seller, and later on you realize that seller has taken loan on that property, and that property was mortgaged to the bank for the loan which was taken by the seller. After the loan was taken by you, after the house was taken by you, you came to know that this property is mortgaged at the bank, and the seller is telling you, okay, don't worry, I will repay the loan entirely, and this property will be yours in very short span of time. I will repay the loan entirely. Incorrect, guys. A seller of a particular property cannot give you a property which is mortgaged. Mortgaged means girvi rakhna in Hindi language, girvi rakhna. They cannot give you any property which is mortgaged to any third party. No, a good which is mortgaged to third party cannot be sold to you. This is an implied warranty. Implied warranty, if it is breached, then definitely that warranty will result into damages being paid by the seller to the buyer. So second implied warranty is freedom from encumbrances. Third warranty is warranty as to fitness. Yes, the third important warranty is that the purpose for which this particular product is being purchased, this should be fit for that particular use. Now I'll tell you, sir, you will say, sir, there was a fitness test in conditions also here. There is a fitness test over here also. This is also fitness. So what is the difference between conditions fitness and warranties of fitness? So guys, the difference between conditions fitness and warranties fitness is that over here the fitness is with respect to certain non-primary things. Over there the fitness was with respect to primary things. I'll demonstrate, okay? I bought an iPhone. The primary condition is that its speaker should be working. Its speaker is perfect, that is condition. I also told the seller, I want only black color iPhone. I don't want silver color or rose gold color or golden color. I want only black color iPhone, because in a professional environment in my company only black iPhones are acceptable. So I want only black color iPhone. I do not want any other iPhone. So in that case, the color is not the primary condition. So that fitness will come into purview of warranty. This is implied warranty. So implied warranty or condition as to quality or fitness of a particular purpose may be annexed by usage of trade. So there's one more example, usage of trade, which can be used in this particular warranty. Usage of trade means a thing which is used in a particular manner in a particular trade, that thing should be continue to be used in the same manner. I'll give you an example. Okay, so whenever you go to market and you ask for cheese, you know, the common practice is that the cheese which will be sold to you is the normal homemade cheese which is available in market, and that will be sold to you. If you want any other specific type of cheese, so if you want, say, liquid cheese, then you have to mention that I want liquid cheese. So if you are a hotelier and you are going to buy cheese, then if you don't mention anything, then usage of trade says that the normal cheese which is sold to everyone will be sold to you as well. This is the normal tendency. Usage of trade is this. But if you want liquid cheese, you need to mention that you want liquid cheese, otherwise liquid cheese will not be given to you. So usage of trade, which means what is commonly acceptable, what is commonly available, that is how you identify the usage of trade and your fitness of that particular product. Next is warranty of disclosing dangerous nature of goods to an ignorant buyer. So if your goods are dangerous, which means if your goods have certain tendencies of giving allergy. So if you see food items, sometimes they have allergens. If you are allergic to, say, milk products, then it will be written that you should not consume milk products if you are allergic to this. So if you are allergic to certain things, it is seller's responsibility to make you aware about the dangerous nature of the goods which are allergic goods. So that is again an implied warranty. You need not mention it in your contract. This is an implied warranty. Dangerous nature of goods to the ignorant buyer should definitely be disclosed to him. Okay, one very important topic, last topic of your SOGA, last important topic, and it is really important, guys. Rights of an unpaid seller. If the seller is not able to receive his money from the buyer, then what can seller do? Seller's rights are restricted to two things. One, with respect to goods. Second, with respect to buyer. So what can seller do with respect to goods is the first deliberation that we are going to do, and what can he do with respect to the buyer, that is the second deliberation which we are going to do. Now first of all, what is the right of an unpaid seller with respect to the goods? Which means that what can the unpaid seller do with respect to the goods for which his payment is not received? So if buyer has taken the good on credit, and if the seller has sold the good on credit, and if buyer does not repay his money, then what can seller do? Seller can first of all has the right of lien. Right of lien means if the good is not sent by the seller to the buyer, then the buyer can hold the possession of that particular good. This is known as right to lien. Lien means to hold. Sir, what if the goods have been couriered to the buyer? If the goods have been couriered to the buyer, then the seller has the right to stop the goods in transit. If the goods are stoppable, then the goods can be stopped in transit. So sir, if the goods receive the buyer, then what will happen, sir? So if the goods are not sent, then of course seller can retain the possession. If the goods are sent to the buyer, then the seller can recall the goods back. Okay, my third question to you is, if the goods have reached to the buyer, then can the seller again repossess these goods? Answer in chat box, yes or no. Answer in chat box, yes or no. If the goods have been sent to the buyer, then, and if the buyer has received the goods, then the seller, does he have the right to get the possession of the goods back again? Answer in the chat box. Okay, there are many yeses and there's one no. Akanksha says a no. Okay, Akanksha says a no, Vidhi says a no, Vinaya says a no, Chirag says a no. Very good, Chirag, brilliant, superb. Who else? Pooja says a no. Okay, who else? Give me more answers, guys. You are 52, more than 50 students are there. Rishabh says a no. Okay, Ayushi says a no. So yes, the correct answer is no. If the goods reach the buyer, if the goods reach the buyer, then seller cannot do anything. That is why over here there are only two conditions: right of lien and right of stoppage in transit. Please tell me, is there a third point which says that if the goods have reached the buyer, then seller can repossess the goods? Is there any third point which says that? Answer is no. So this is a very, very important point. If you have your book in front of you, underline, mark this portion and write down over there: seller cannot do anything if the goods have reached the buyer. If the goods have been received to the buyer, if the goods have been sent to the buyer and they have also received by the buyer, seller cannot do anything. He cannot possess the goods back. His right as to goods finishes over there. He cannot do anything with respect to goods if the goods are received by the buyer. Then the third right is right of resale. So if the goods are in possession of the seller, seller can resell those goods. And right to withholding the delivery. So the delivery, if the buyer is at the gate of the seller, then seller can say, no, I am not giving you the goods. You please pay my money and then I will give you the goods. So the fourth right which is there with the seller is that he can withhold delivery. If delivery date is finalized, then he can withhold delivery. So guys, there's a small difference between right of lien, which is first right, and the fourth right. There's a small difference. Please understand the difference. Right of lien means the right of the seller not to part away with the goods. Okay, he can not part away with the goods, which means he has the right to not even fix the delivery time. He will say, I am not delivering the goods to you unless and until you pay my money. I am not delivering the goods to you. That is right of lien. But if he has fixed up a delivery, then he can stop the delivery also. That is the fourth right, right of withholding delivery. First part is right of refusing delivery. First part is right of refusing delivery. I am not giving you the goods. No, please go back home. I am not giving you goods because you are not paying my money. And the fourth part is right of withholding delivery. So this is the refusing delivery. This is refusing delivery. This is withholding delivery. Both have small thin line of difference between two. Okay, then against the buyer. Now if the goods have been received by the buyer, then the seller cannot exercise right against the goods. This is out of question. Then if the goods have been received by the buyer, then this is out of question. Then the rights which are available with the seller is rights against the buyer. What are the rights which are there against the buyer? Suit for price. Suit means legal case. So the seller can sue the buyer for the price of the goods. It can ask the court to ask the buyer to recover the price. Suit for damages for non-acceptance. So if the buyer refuses to accept the good, once the goods are sold and then buyer says, no, I don't want the goods, then the seller can sue the buyer for non-acceptance of damages of goods, because the conveyance charge which has been undertaken by the seller, the transportation charge, the loading unloading charge, all those charges are important charges which are not which are incurred by the seller. So the seller can sue the buyer for damages for non-acceptance of the goods. And third one is suit for repudiation. If after buying the goods Buyer refuses to honor the commitment, honor the contract after buying the goods. After entering into an agreement, the buyer next day says that no, I don't want the goods. That is repudiation, which means the contract has been cancelled by the buyer. Then again, the seller can sue in the court that the buyer has already committed that he will buy, but he is now refusing to buy. So that case can be done against the buyer. Suit for interest. If any interest has been a part of the agreement between the buyer and the seller for late payment of the consideration. If any interest was payable by the buyer for late payment of consideration, then that interest is to be payable by the buyer to the seller. So suit for interest is the fourth remedy which the seller has against the buyer. Guys, please note, there is no remedy which says that the seller has the right to repossess the goods. No. Seller does not has the right to repossess the goods. Seller cannot repossess the goods. Seller does not have the right to repossess the goods. This is a very, very important element which you should take into consideration while studying the rights of an unpaid seller. Okay, so that's all for the last session which we did, and we did the test also. So that's all for the last session. Now we are going to start today's session, and today's session is based on ethics. Today's session is based on morals. Today's session is based on value. Sir, we don't believe in this ethics and value and moral, sir. Our life is absolutely immoral. Sir, we believe in immorality. So whatever we find good, sir, we do that. This is all immoral. These things are irrelevant, sir. No, sir. These are not relevant things. Guys, in practice, whatever you do, whatever immoral activities you do, whatever unethical behavior you do, I don't care. But when it comes to your business, when it comes to law, when it comes to commercial transactions, then ethics is the most important thing that you should take care of. Because in business, ethics are very, very important. If you are not following ethics in business, then your business will not last for a very long time. It will last for a very, very short span of time. Over here, I want to quote a very interesting incident which happened in Tata Industries. So I hope you are aware about the Tata group of companies. It is one of the most renowned groups of India, which is into several things, vehicles, automobiles, commodities, minerals, natural resources. Tata's is into multiple businesses, and it's a very, very big group. So Tata's is one of the best groups in the country, which is A1 in its ethical standards also. If you talk about ethics, then Tata's is in top of the list of ethical companies of India. Tata does a lot of social work for its people, and ethically it's very, very a good company. So I'll tell you an incident which happened in Tata. So guys, in 2011, there was a terrorist attack in America. Osama bin Laden, a terrorist from Afghanistan, actually Taliban, crashed two planes in World Trade Center. World Trade Center were the two highest buildings in United States of America, which was the hub of trade, commerce and business in the entire world. United States of America, being a developed country, was the hub of having multiple businesses in its premises of World Trade Center. They were located in New York City, and both these World Trade Centers were crashed by airplanes by this terrorist called Osama bin Laden. Soon as this incident happened, the companies of the world became bankrupt. Their businesses went down. They became terribly debt-ridden. Debt was too high in these companies. And the first thing which companies started to do is that they started to retrench their employees. They started to chuck their employees. They started to say bye-bye Tata to their employees. And they didn't bother about how would employees survive after they chuck him, but they started to terribly lay off their employees. Under this situation of uncertainty, employees of all the companies were terribly afraid of would we also be chucked out by our companies. They were very afraid. So there was a general notion that everyone's job was unsafe at that point in time, and everyone was worried, everyone was under fear. So during that tenure, Mr. Krishan Kumar, who was the HR head of Tata Industries Limited, he sent an email to all the employees of Tata companies, and that email said that as a responsible person, HR head of Tata Group, I commit to all my employees that not even a single employee will be sacked, even a single employee will be laid off due to the 9/11 incidents which had taken place in the United States of America. It is our moral responsibility to take care of all of you. If any loss will be occurred due to the World Trade Centers being demolished, all that loss will be taken up by us, Tata Group of Companies, and Mr. Ratan Tata, who was the MD at that point in time. His name was mentioned in the email that Mr. Ratan Tata has committed to the employees that not even a single employee will be sacked because of this unfortunate event. Now guys, let me tell you very frankly, it was not the responsibility of Tata Group to not to sack people. I mean, if the company is not working well, then there's no alternative but to sack people. This is a normal tendency, this is a normal thing which happens. But no, the ethics, the values, the morals which Tatas work on, those morals did not permit the Tata Group to sack their employees like this and to leave them unattended. Their morals, their ethics did not permit it. And that is why Tata Group is one of the most loved groups in the country, most prosperous groups, most growing groups in the country's Tata Groups. So yes, ethics and business are really important to be followed. They are both mixed, intermingled with each other, so you have to really follow them well. And ethics and business are two faces of the same coin. If your business is not ethical, then your business will not survive. So you should follow ethics in your business. Now let us start the chapter business and ethics, and the first topic which we are going to discuss is morals and ethics. Now when you hear these two words, you would feel that sir इन दोनों में क्या फर्क है, ये तो बिल्कुल सेम है सर, इन दोनों में कोई फर्क ही नहीं है. There is no difference between ethics and morals, sir. Sir, what is the difference between morals and ethics? These are one and the same thing. No, they are not one and the same thing. Okay, let me tell you why they are not one and the same thing. Okay, our parents always teach us that we should not lie to anyone, we should speak the truth. Our parents always teach us, but when we grow up, then we realize one alteration or one version of this particular statement, and the alteration is this: if a truth or if a false statement benefits someone and it is not harming someone else, then that lie is equivalent to truth. So the principles, the main broad principles are the morals, which in my example is do not speak lie, always speak truth. This is the moral. But the ethics is personal applicability of morals, how we personally apply morals in our case. That is personal applicability of morals. That is known as ethics. I'll give you another example. I gave a pravachan in the starting of the lecture that please delete all your social media accounts. Do not see any social media account till your examination. But there is a very smart guy in our group, guys. Chirag Patni is his name. He belongs to Haldwani. He is very smart. He tells me that sir, okay, your principle is absolutely okay, your moral is absolutely okay, but I will apply it differently. Sir, what will I do? I will fix 5 minutes per day timer on each of my social media account. So I will not be able to see any of the social media account beyond 5 minutes. Using that, your purpose will also be fulfilled, that I do not spend more time on social media. My purpose will also be fulfilled, that I want to see her face at least once a day. At least once a day I want to know what has she put in on his story or on her post. I want to see that. That objective is also fulfilled. So sir, I am following your moral, but I am modulating or I am articulating that moral which you gave me in my way, the way I want to apply that. I am articulating that particular moral in my way. So ethics are my way of following the morals. Morals are the broad principles, and ethics are my individual way, are my own way of following those morals. So take care of your employees. This is a moral. Take care of your employees. This is a moral. How has Tata imbibed it in ethics? Tata has said, do not chuck them even if the company is going through a bad phase. This is Tata's version of ethics. So if I tell you that, take care of your customers, please write in the chat box whether it is moral or ethic. Take care of your customers, whether it is moral or ethic. I want the answer in the chat box. Take good care of your customers. Is it moral or ethics? Vinod says moral. Tanmoy says ethic. No, Tanmoy, incorrect. Moral. Suman says moral. Shruti, Junaid, Nikita, you are incorrect. Vidhi, you are incorrect. Ayushi, Binoy, Lucifer, Gulshan, moral. Perfect. Everyone is perfectly correct. Gaurav, you are incorrect. Perfect. If I tell you take care of your customers, then it is a moral. It is a moral. And now my next statement, please listen to my next statement very, very carefully, and you decide whether it is moral or ethics. My next statement is, resolve queries of your customer within 24 hours. Is this a moral or an ethic? It is a moral or an ethic? Yes, this is an ethic. Some companies can resolve the queries within 24 hours. Some companies can resolve the queries within 48 hours. Some companies want 1 week to resolve the queries. So it depends from the company to company. What time do they take in resolving the query? So one more example. Take care of your parents. Is it a moral or an ethic? Take care of your parents is a moral or an ethic? Moral. Perfect. Aditya, Khetan, Akanksha, Pooja, Damodaran, Suman, Thambu, Madhu, you are wrong. Vinod, Jaswant, Khushal, Vinaya, you are absolutely right. All of you are absolutely right. This is moral. Perfect. Okay, statement number 2. Okay, statement number 2. Respect your parents. Is it an ethic or moral? Respect your parents. Is it a ethic or a moral? Yes, it is again a moral. It is a moral. Yes, moral. Absolutely moral. Damodaran, you are incorrect. Yes, it is a moral. Okay. Now my next statement. Yes, it is a moral. You are right. Absolutely right. This is a moral. Next statement is, touch feet of your parents daily in the morning. This is a moral or an ethic? Rakshit is saying, Chirag is saying it is a moral. Okay, Chirag. So it is a moral or an ethic? Touch feet of your parents daily in the morning. Is it a moral or an ethic? This is a ethic. This is not a moral. Moral is respect your parents. But touching feet daily is not a moral. It is not a broad principle. It is an ethic. It is your individual way of showing respect to your parents. So this is an ethic. This is a personal choice. Yes, Jaswant is absolutely right. This is a personal choice. If this is a personal choice, this is an ethic. Some student will say, okay sir, I show respect to my parents, to my mom, by asking her not to cook for 1 day in a month. 1 day in a month we all eat outside and we give rest to our mother, and we say that please don't cook food for us. That is ethic. That is your personal choice. How do you want to show respect to your parents? So that is the demarcation between ethics and morals. So ethics is an ethikos, which means character. Character is the word which goes with ethics. Then the root word in Greek is mos in case of morals, which means custom, which means what happens usually. That is custom. Deals with what is wrong and right. Both wrong and right conduct is being dealt with in ethics. However, in moral, the principles of right and wrong is considered. So, ethics is more concerned with a particular activity. However, moral is concerned with a principle. It is not concerned with an activity. Ethics is an activity, what you personally do to fulfill that moral, that is activity. So deals with individual character. So every person has a different way of following a particular moral, but the moral is a custom set by group. Entire group follows a particular moral in a proper way. Characteristic is personal attribute. Characteristic is personal. It depends on person to person how that person follows that ethic. And customs are determined by group, some authority like religion or culture. Religion or culture is the things which drive morals. Ethics is the response of an individual to specific situation. So ethics is the response of an individual to a situation. So if I tell you respect your parents, then you should choose how to respect your parents. Okay, it is your response to a particular situation. However, morals are general principles. For example, you should speak the truth. They are general principles. Okay, so 2013 this question came in. Evolution of ethics. Where did this ethics come from? Ethics has come from society over hundreds of years back. So ethics has come from the concept of society. When we live in a society, when we get benefit from a society, then definitely we should also give back to society. This giving back of society behavior is ethics. So acceptable behavior is promoted and elevated as a social value, and unacceptable behavior is rejected and commended. So when you are in public, you should not abuse. This doesn't mean that when you are in personal, then you should abuse. Doesn't mean that on your phone you are doing ma behan with your friend. No, not acceptable. But when you are in public, then definitely you should not abuse. That is an unacceptable behavior. So ethics has come from society itself. Now this is very, very important. Please mark it as very, very important. 7 principles of public life. First of all, you need to understand what do you mean by public life. Public life means whenever you hold an office which is dedicated or devoted to people, which means you are an MLA, you are a MP of a particular area, and your responsibility is to serve the people of your country. If you are in army, if you are in air force, you are in military, then your responsibility is towards public, towards the civilians. When you hold a public office, when you hold a position where you are doing something for the public at large, then you should follow these 7 principles very, very religiously. No one will teach you to follow this. It is your ethics. In Hindi it is known as अंतरात्मा, आत्मा की आवाज. आत्मा की आवाज सुनना होता है. आत्मा की आवाज कई लोग दबा देते हैं. आत्मा की आवाज को दबाना नहीं होता, आत्मा की आवाज को सुनना होता है. So that is your अंतरात्मा की आवाज. So this अंतरात्मा की आवाज is very, very relevant in case of situation where you are holding public offices. When you are a politician, then your अंतरात्मा की आवाज has to be very, very loud, and it has to be listened by you very, very carefully. अंतरात्मा की आवाज is very, very relevant for you when you are holding a public office. Now what do you mean by अंतरात्मा की आवाज? What are the 7 things which are constituting in अंतरात्मा की आवाज? Number 1, selflessness. Now whenever you are holding a public office, you should not be fulfilling your personal gain at the stake of someone else. So what happens is, if you are building a dam, then you and contractor, you are a politician, you are building a dam, and you hire a contractor, and contractor tells you that okay, I will put some bad quality cement in the dam. Okay, you pay some money to me, and I will pay you some rishwat. Give this contract to me, I will pay you bribe. Contractor is telling the politician, and politician says okay, you please apply bad quality cement, some cheap cement, and I will pay you money of expensive cement, and then you give me commission. This is selflessness. This is selfishness. You cannot do this. You have to be selfless. You cannot have personal gains or monetary gains for themselves, their families and their friends. You cannot do that. Selflessness is the first principle of public life. Second principle is integrity. Integrity means you should have some responsibility towards the public. You should be honest, okay? You should work with integrity. Your official duties should be undertaken with integrity, okay? Just because you are holding a public office, it does not mean that you can come anytime in office and go anytime from office, and you are not following the office decorum. You come late, you leave early. You should not do that. you should be integral. You should have integrity amongst yourself. Within yourself, you should have integrity. So integrity is the second principle of public life. Third principle is objectivity. Objectivity means while taking a decision, you have to have public benefit in mind. While taking any decision, your decision should be, your choice should be made with respect to benefit of the public. Your choice should be made with respect to benefit of the public whom you are serving. Your choice should not be random choice. You make any choice, your choice should not be a random choice. So your choice should be related to public. It should benefit the public the most. I'll give you an example. There are 3 contractors which are actually bidding for a particular making of a dam. You know that contractor number B is the best quality dam maker, is the best quality person who's providing dams of absolutely good quality. Then of course it's your responsibility to give the contract to the second contractor. So you should work objectively while you are on a public office. You should be accountable, which means you have to be responsible. You have to reply to people who are being who are having faith in you. You should be accountable to your seniors. So politicians should be accountable to their seniors. So tell me something. Have you ever heard about CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India? Has anyone of you heard about CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India? CAG. Yes or no in the chat box. Anyone is aware about CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India? Junaid says no. Vinod says no. Suman says no. Madhu says no. Suman says no. Thambu says no. Ritik says no. Okay, no one knows about CAG. Okay, I'll tell you what is CAG. CAG are the auditors of the politicians. Whatever decisions is taken by politicians in the ministries, their audit of their financial statements is done by CAG. They are the auditors. They audit, they check the accounts of the politicians. So politicians are accountable to CAG. Even Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi is accountable to CAG. If under the ministry of Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi, there is some expenditure which is huge, which is lavish, which was not required, then CAG is going to question that particular expenditure. So everyone should be accountable to someone when he is in public life. So accountability is very, very important. Okay, openness. Openness means transparency. Transparency means the office bearer should tell in advance about the decisions and actions which are taken by him, should tell about the benefits of those decisions, should communicate with the people more often. As you have seen during COVID times, Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi came live many times on TV and communicated openly that what is happening, what is the future, what will happen. He communicated all these things openly with people. Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi did this, right? So this openness should be there in public office, because people should know what is there in mind of the public figure in the public office. Just like you all demand from Institute of Cost Accountants of India, please let us know when our exam schedule. Please let us know what is the pattern of the exam. Please let us know from where will the exam be made. You always demand for openness, honesty and transparency, right? Similarly, the openness is required in all the public offices. And then second last is honesty. Yes, the public office bearer should be honest. He should take steps to resolve any conflict arising in way of which protects the public interest. Honesty is the policy. And yes, last one is leadership. A public figure should be a leader. He should take decisions appropriately. He should take consent of all the people who are following him. He should take consent of the supporters who are following in him while taking any decision. He should have sound leadership qualities if he is a public figure. So leadership is the quality. Then value free ethics. This is a very, very important term which is used in case of ethics. So guys, let me tell you one very important fact. Following ethics sometimes does not create any monetary value. There is no monetary value in terms of ethics when you talk about business. So yes, you have heard and appreciated the story of Tata Group very, very fondly, and you say, oh sir, Tata Group has done brilliantly by taking this decision that it will not sack any of the employees. You might appreciate Tata in its decision of Can you guys hear me? I
Yeah,
lost
sir.
my network.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. I'll reshare the PDF. Okay. Okay. So, value free ethics. So, sometimes people would argue that business is not emotions. Business is not emotions. Please keep emotions away from business. Business is a separate thing. Emotions is a separate thing. If you mix emotions with business, then business is not going to reap any benefit, any profit for all of you. This is the logic which is given by many people. This concept is known as value free ethic. Means ethic does not have any monetary value. But even when ethic does not have any monetary value, people would follow it because it is essential. It is required. Even when following ethics leads to expenditure, leads to expensing our utilizing our money for expenditure, even then ethics are to be followed. So this is the concept of value free ethics, which means that ethics can be free from value. You might not gain any value from ethics, but still ethics will be followed. So it would seem that business is an ethically neutral or value free activity. In other words, only value business is considered with its monetary value. It is not interest of business to mix ethical value. So some people tell businessman that okay, don't be emotional, don't be ethical, because ethical falling ethics will result into reduction in value. An ancient Arabic wisdom states, live together like brothers but do business like strangers. So even while doing business with your brothers, do it like strangers. Business should be kept free from other social relationships and obligations. The only successful relationship that exists in business is that of vendor and customer. But guys, this entire concept is not true in today's world. In today's world, emotional...
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Hello, hello. Is my voice still breaking or am I audible to all of you?
Sir, your voice is not clear.
You are audible.
So still lagging.
Lagging, the voice is lagging.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me check. Yes, please tell me now, is the voice clear or is the voice still
Yes, sir.
lagging?
It's clear.
Now is it okay? Okay, great. Okay, so I was telling you that it is a thing of past that people used to think that ethics is of no value and you should not follow ethics, because following ethics will lead to a loss of money. Business is not emotion. Business is pure monetary value. But no, that is not the concept now. Now concept has changed completely. Now ethics is an important part of any and every business. Indeed, for every business, every factor in business is measured in terms of money. This is the concept of value-free ethics, which is not relevant in today's world, but you need to learn this particular value-free ethics principle also. Now, the next topic is ethics as a principle. So guys, now it is your option, okay? No one is forcing you. No law cannot be made that, no business can not sack its employees. Law cannot be made. It is your personal decision as a businessman whether you want to follow ethical properties or you want to follow unethical rules. It is your own personal call. So ethics is a principle. It is not a law. So there is a law, Sales of Goods Act. It's a law. You can sue the seller or a buyer in case he breaches any of the conditions. Okay, you can sue. But in case of ethics, ethics is just a principle. It is not a law. So if Tata Industries Limited sack a particular employee during the downtrend of economy, then the employee cannot go to court and tell the court, okay, why has they sacked me? They cannot sack me. He cannot go to court and claim that. So ethics are not laws, they are principles. Principles means you may follow them, you may not follow them. It is your option, it is your choice. We cannot impose the ethics on anyone. It is your personal choice. Okay, then there is a relationship between ethics and law. What is the relationship between ethics and law? So relationship between ethics and law is, sometimes law institutionalize ethics. I'll give you an example, okay? In India, if you are chewing betel leaf, you know what is betel leaf? Please answer in chat box if you know what is betel leaf. In chat box, please tell me what is betel leaf. In Hindi, what is known as betel leaf? No one knows. You eat betel leaf after food, after having food. पान, उपाध्याय साहब को ना पता हो ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है भाई? Very good. So sometimes once in a while we enjoy having pan, meetha pan, okay? In India, it is very very common to spit on road. Sometimes when you walk on road, the road is absolutely red. It is absolutely red because of the spit of pan which is there on the road, okay? Now it is ethical not to spit on road after eating pan, or not to spit on road at all. It is ethical, but it is not illegal. In India you cannot be fined. So if I am walking on road, I am having pan and I spit on road, okay, then I cannot be sued. Indian cobra, what is Indian cobra? Indian cobra is name of a pan, Jaswant Lohar. I am not aware about this Indian cobra. So you can spit on road, okay, no one will fine you, no one will sue you. This is your ethics. It is your moral responsibility that you do not spit on road. It is your moral ethic that you should not lit on the road. Some people eat chips, lays while traveling in a bus, and when the packet is over, then they will pull the window and they will throw the packet out of the bus. This is your ethics. You should learn the ethics that you should not loiter the road, you should not throw your garbage on the road. It is your ethics. But guys, in certain countries like Singapore, it is illegal to spit on road. If you spit on road, if you are eating kheni or if you are eating tulsi and you spit on road, you will be charged a hefty fine. So sometimes what happens is the law institutionalizes ethics, which means they turn ethics into law. This happens many times, okay? So strictly ethics is not law, but sometimes ethics becomes law if certain part of the world, a certain country convert ethics into law. It is institutionalize the ethics. So yes, this in one sense business ethics can be said to begin where law ends. So ethics is even beyond law. Business ethics is primarily concerned with those issues that are not covered by law or nowhere they are defined, but ethics are something which a businessman should follow. So no one will tell Tata that do not sack any of the employees. It is Tata's own Antaratma that will speak to Tata, and Tata will say, okay, I will not sack any employee. Ethics in business and professional ethics. Now we are talking about two things, guys. I have already talked about ethics in business. A businessman has to be ethical. He has to be socially responsible. He should take good care of his customers. He should take good care of his employees. That is the primary requirement, of course. Now, very, very important stuff. What are the professional ethics? Business ethics means ethics which are followed by businessmen. Okay, that is business ethics. Professional ethics are ethics which are followed by professionals. Now, please in the chat box write name of some professionals. Who are professionals? Write name of some professionals in the chat box. In 11th class, you have studied difference between business and profession. Okay, just write names of some professionals. Doctor, okay, very good. Other names of professionals? Doctor, teacher, lawyer, engineer. Okay, teacher. CMA, yes, that is what I wanted to hear. CMA, CA, yes, we are future professionals. Yes, you are future professionals. CA, CS, CMA, yes, these are all professional degrees. You guys all are professionals. Okay, Madhu says Nikhil Gupta sir. Yes, Nikhil Gupta sir is also a professional. Yes, very, very good, guys. So guys, one question to you. Do you see advertisements on TV? Are there advertisements which are there on TV? So have you seen an advertisement? Now here are my question, and then write in chat box, okay? Have you seen an advertisement in the TV which says in which Katrina Kaif comes on the screen and she says that if you are having any problem, if you are having cold, if you are having cough, fever, or if you are having a big disease like tuberculosis, if you have TB, if you have cancer, if you have any skin problem, then consult Fortis Group of Hospitals. Fortis Group of Hospitals is very, very good, and it provides amazing facility. So please contact Fortis Group of Hospitals. Have you seen Katrina Kaif saying this on the TV? Everyone is saying no. Everyone is saying no. Okay. Now my second example. Have you seen Jacqueline Fernandez? Who all love Jacqueline Fernandez in this group? Who all loves Jacqueline Fernandez? Write a me if you love Jacqueline Fernandez. Write a me. Me. Chirag's me came first. Yes, Chirag, you are very prompt in answering these questions. Other questions, if I ask, you will delay. But this question you will ask very promptly. Me. Nora, Sohail Alam says me. Okay. No, me not. Vinod, you don't like Jacqueline Fernandez. Okay. So, have you ever seen Jacqueline Fernandez come on TV and say that if you want to file your return, then please contact the big four organizations, KPMG, EY, Deloitte and PwC. They are very good CA firms. They are very good CMAs. Please get your return filed from only these big companies. Tell me yes or no. Have you seen Jacqueline advertising like this? Everyone is saying no. Okay. No, I don't like any actress. Lucifer says I don't like any actress. So Lucifer, do you like actors? So I'm talking about actors now. How many of you like Akshay Kumar? How many of you like Akshay Kumar? Write a me if you like Akshay Kumar. Chirag says he likes Akshay Kumar. Sohail says no, he doesn't. Okay. Junaid says no. Vidhi says no. Jaswant says no. Okay. Gaurav says a yes. Okay. So answer me. Have you ever seen Akshay Kumar coming on the TV and telling you that, okay, if you want to get your house constructed, then choose only Rafi's contractor. He is an amazing interior decorator. He will decorate your house in such a beautiful manner that you will love it. The interiors which Hafiz contractor gives is amazing. Have you seen Akshay Kumar advertising interior decorator on TV? Or a civil engineer or an engineer on TV? Have you ever seen? Answer is no. Now the question which I am going to ask you is very, very important for your understanding, okay? Please answer after thinking. Don't be in a rush, okay? After thinking, answer this question. Fortis, engineers, doctors, any kind of professionals, do they require advertisement or not? Yes or no? Do they require advertisement or not? Yes or no? Doctors, engineers, teachers, do they require advertisement? Yes or no? Everyone is saying a no. Jaswant is saying yes. Jaswant is saying yes. Only actor and actress. What is only actor and actress? I am not talking about actor and actress now. I am talking about the professionals. Do they require advertisement? Guys, the answer to this question is yes. They do require advertisement. Fortis Hospital requires advertisement. Engineers requires advertisement. Chartered accountants require advertisement. There is no person in the world who doesn't require advertisement. There is no one in the world who doesn't require advertisement. Everyone needs advertisement. If you are having a lot of money in your hand, like by way of hoardings, yes, by way of hoarding you need advertisement. So why you do not see any advertisement of professionals? If they require advertisement, then why you do not see any advertisement of professionals on TV? Why you don't see? अखबार नहीं पढ़ते तुम लोग? अरे जसवंत गुस्सा आ गया तुमको. अरे जसवंत गुस्सा मत करो भाई. जसवंत नाराज हो गए तुम तो. शांत थांबा भीम. गुस्सा मत हो. इतना गुस्सा क्यों हो रहे हो? Okay, so now my question to you is, क्या प्रोफेशनल्स को एडवर्टाइजमेंट की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती? पड़ती है, तो वो क्यों एडवर्टाइजमेंट नहीं करते? क्यों फोर्टिस ग्रुप टीवी में आके एडवर्टाइजमेंट नहीं करता? क्यों कोई चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट एडवर्टाइजमेंट नहीं करता? पैसे खूब है उनके पास, पैसे की कोई कमी नहीं है, दे हैव अ लॉट ऑफ मनी, बिकॉज टीवी पे कुछ भी दिखाते हैं. We know this saying because टीवी पे कुछ भी दिखाते हैं. टाइम नहीं है सर उनके पास. सुमन इज सेइंग टाइम नहीं है उनके पास. अरे सुमन, पैसा कमाने के लिए किसके पास टाइम नहीं होता? टाइम ही टाइम है. विनोद का आंसर बेस्ट है, क्योंकि टीवी पे कुछ भी दिखाते हैं. Okay, the reason which Rishabh gave is absolutely right. Guys, they are restricted to advertise on TV. Vidhi Poddar, very good. Vidhi Poddar answer is perfect. Professionals are restricted. They are not permitted to advertise on TV because their integrity, their dignity is very, very important. Their image is very, very important. Would it look nice if Bright Vision Academy, all the teachers are standing with an actress who's wearing very short clothes, and Bright Vision teachers are telling you that if you want to study CMA Inter, then you should only and only study from Bright Vision Academy, and the actress is standing with the teachers of Bright Vision Academy, and that actress is wearing very short clothes. Would it look good? Would it look ethical? Would it look good? Is that dignified? Junaid is saying no. Ritik is saying no. Chirag will say yes, sir. It will look good. I will see see that advertisement again and again. No, Chirag is saying yes, sir. It will look good. I will then come to Bright Vision Academy again and again. Every week I will come to Bright Vision Academy. Chirag is saying that. But no, guys, that is not true. Ethically, integrity wise, dignity wise, it is not good for a professional to advertise. So ethics for professionals are much more strong, much more tough for professionals as compared to the businessman. So values of people, of individual values, result into social values, and these values, when adopted by business houses, they become business values or corporate values. Business ethics concern itself with adhering with social principles or situations in which business takes place. Just as society functions on the social codes of conduct, the country is governed by constitution, a business is run on corporate codes. So your codes should be very, very well defined. Therefore, not only should the business be defined with confined ethics, business should define confined ethics, it should also practice strictly under its own professional code of conduct. So code of conduct is very, very important for business as well as for the professionals. So just as it expects professionals from other areas like medicine, bureaucracy, politics, sports also to be ethical. So everyone should be ethical. Now, 3 P's of sustainability of a business. Business is sustainable on 3 P's. 3 P's are people, planet, environment, or profits. People should be taken care of, environment should be taken care of, and profit should be taken care of. These are 3 P's of business. Now, 3 C's of business ethics. What are the 3 things that you should take care when you are following business ethics? Competency. Your employee should be competent. Every business employee should be competent. Business employee should have good character. Now, what do you mean by character over here? That the employee should not have 2 girlfriends, they have only 1 girlfriend. Is this the meaning of character over here? Yes or no in the comment box. Yes or no in the comment box. Having 2 girlfriends, will that breach the ethics over here? Or is it talking about some other character? Answer is no. Everyone is saying no. Nalayak. All the boys are saying no. Nalayak boys, even that is ethics, okay? Yeah, that is not business ethic, but that is ethics. You should not have 2 girlfriends. Nalayak. All of them are nalayak. So over here, character means that the employees should be truthful, the employees should be honest, they should not siphon off money, they should not give false hopes to the customer. All these things are character of a particular employee or a business. Then compensation. Employees should be given adequate compensation and remuneration. These are ethics. These are ethical values of any business. Needs or advantages of business ethics. You need to stop business malpractices. That is the first advantages of following ethics. Businessman should not charge high amount and give less quality to the customers. That is important part of business ethics. So you should stop malpractices. That is first part. Improves customer confidence. If you have ethics, if you are ethical, then customer confidence will increase. And trust me, Tata company's shares underwent a lot of increase after this incidents happened, where people reposed their confidence in Tata. Their shares increased. So customer confidence increased. Share prices are also increased when a business follows ethics. Survival of business, which means long-term benefit of business, long-term utility of business is very much survival is done only when business follows ethical standards, only when business does ethical things, then business survives in long run. Safeguarding customers' right. So customer rights are safeguarded when business follows ethics. Customers are happy. It protects employees and shareholders. Employees are protected and shareholders are protected. Employees are protected because they get adequate remuneration. Shareholders are protected because they are sure that company is not doing any hanky-panky stuff. They are doing some good stuff. Shareholders are also confident. Develops good relationships. You develop good relationship only when you are ethical. Only when you do the right thing, then the proper relationships are developed. Image is increased. Your good image increases. Smooth functioning. Your functions become smooth. Your activities become smooth. Customer movement. Your consumer will not move. Your customer will grow. Consumer will grow. They will not go to someone else if you are ethical. Consumer satisfaction. Consumer is more satisfied with a good businessman. Importance of labor. The employees, they definitely are more motivated if they are given proper wages and salaries. They are more motivated to work. There is low attrition. Attrition means the rate at which the employees are leaving the company. So they have low attrition. Their attrition is low if the environment is ethical. Then healthy competition. Competition becomes healthy. You do not do negative competition, you do positive competition. And please see this, guys. This question has been coming in every attempt, almost every attempt till Corona. Corona only could stop this particular question from coming. There was no other force in the world which stopped this question from coming. Only Corona stopped this question from coming, because due to Corona, exam didn't happen. So this question was not repeated. So Corona stopped this question. Otherwise, this question has come again and again, has come again and again. So this is a very, very important question. Need and advantages of business ethics. Sir, do we have to remember all of them? No, don't remember all of them. Just remember 8. That's it. Okay. Test time, guys. The chapter is over. Now let us see the test. Please open your cameras, and you should have your registers in front of you. That's it. Please open your cameras. Test time. Let's see. Oh, Rishabh has left. You know, as soon as you hear test, many people just leave the room. Rishabh Upadhyay, we will take his class in the next session. Okay. So just open your cameras and have your registers in front of you. Please open your cameras.